The road was disappearing beneath the snow. Lena leaned forward, her face inches from the windshield, wipers scraping a desperate rhythm against the storm. The headlights carved weak tunnels through the whiteout, revealing nothing but swirling ghosts of frost. Every few seconds, the tires slipped on the ice, and her stomach clenched. "Hold on, Ilya," she whispered. Her son was curled in the back seat, wrapped in a blanket that still smelled faintly of home. His small fingers clutched a chipped toy truck, the only piece of Mariupol he'd managed to bring. The heater had died hours ago. Each breath rose as pale smoke in the dark. Behind her, Andrei stirred, voice hoarse. "You should have stopped an hour ago." "If we stop," Lena said, gripping the wheel tighter. The cold winds. Outside, the wind howled across the mountains, carrying a low, distant rumble. Not thunder, but engines, trucks, soldiers maybe. She checked the mirror. Nothing but white. Still, she pressed the gas harder. The van shuddered, coughing. The fuel gauge hovered just above empty. "Just a little more," she murmured to herself. "Over the ridge. There'll be lights. A village. Something." The engine sputtered again, then died. The headlights flickered out, and silence rushed in, broken only by the storm's scream. Lena tried the ignition once, twice. Nothing. Andrei exhaled shakily. "It's over." No, her voice cracked. "Not yet." Snow pressed against the windows, smothering the glass like hands trying to drag them under. The temperature was dropping fast, far below freezing. Lena turned to Ilya, forcing calm into her trembling voice. "We walk," she said. "We walk to freedom." The wind hit them like knives as soon as they opened the door. Snow poured into the van, stinging their faces, coating everything in white. Lena pulled Ilya close, wrapping the blanket tighter around him. His lips were pale, his eyes glassy with fatigue. Andrei limped out, clutching his side. Steam hissed from the broken engine. "It's done," he said. Lena looked up, toward the endless white stretching into the mountains. Beyond those peaks lay Poland, safety. Maybe they started walking. Their footprints vanished instantly beneath the storm. Only a week ago, they'd still had a home. Cracked windows, no heat, but walls that still held Ilya's drawings. Then, one morning, the building next door vanished in smoke. That was when she knew they had to leave. Andrei packed food, fuel, a single photograph. The three of them at the seaside, before the world ended. Now, every step was a battle. The wind howled. Ilya's legs shook. Lena lifted him, his cold cheek pressed to her neck. "Tell me a story," he whispered. "Once upon a time," she said softly, "a little boy crossed a mountain of snow, and on the other side, the sun was waiting. Did he make it?" She tightened her hold. "He had to," she whispered. "His mother promised he would." Andrei lagged behind, his limp worsening. Blood stained the snow a dull red. "We need shelter," he gasped. "Anything." "There has to be a village," Lena said. "Marta's son told us there were farms on this road." She stopped. From deep within the forest came a sound. Low, long, and distant. Howl. Ilya's head lifted. "Mama, was that a dog?" Lena didn't answer. Another howl echoed, closer, then another circling. Andrei's eyes met hers. "Wolves." She hoisted Ilya into her arms, her muscles burning. "We keep moving." The snow rose to her knees, her boots soaked through, her toes numb. Then another sound, crackling. Andrei froze. "That's a radio." They crouched behind a ridge. Down the slope, faint lights moved through the storm. Flashlights. Soldiers' voices shouted in a language Lena knew too well. "They're searching," Andrei whispered. "They must have found the van." The wolves howled again. Closer still. The forest was closing in. Beasts behind, soldiers ahead. Andrei grabbed her hand. "Go north. Follow the ridge. I'll lead them away." "No," she whispered fiercely. "We stay together." His breath shook in the cold. "Then run when I tell you." Snow fell heavier, swallowing their footprints as fast as they made them. Lena ran. Ilya clutched to her chest. Voices shouted behind. Wolves cried in the dark. Andrei stumbled beside her, gray-faced, gasping. "Keep going. The storm will hide us." But the storm became their enemy. Snow slicing like glass, the world vanishing into white. Then, through the blur, a shape, a cabin, half buried in ice. Hope flickered. They pushed toward it. Andrei kicked the door in. The hinges screamed. Inside, darkness waited, thick, silent, smelling of rot and old wood. It was no home, just an abandoned shepherd's hut, its roof leaking, its walls splintered. But it was a shelter. Lena set Ilya down gently and tore off her scarf to wrap his feet. "We'll find firewood," she whispered. Andrei collapsed onto the floor, clutching his side. Blood seeped through his coat. No fire, he breathed. Smoke. They'll see, she froze. He was right. Fire meant warmth, but also death. Outside, the wind howled, and then another sound joined it. Low, close. A growl. Lena's heart seized. She crawled to the window. A crack in the wooden boards. Pale shapes moved in the snow. At least 3 of them. Wolves. Their eyes gleamed faintly in the dark, like sparks in ash. One of them stepped closer, its breath fogging the glass. Lena clapped a hand over Ilya's mouth as he whimpered. They can smell blood, Andrei whispered hoarsely. Hours passed. The storm screamed, the wolves prowled, and time itself seemed to freeze. Ilya fell asleep in her arms, shivering violently. Andrei's breathing grew shallow. Lena pressed her palm to his forehead, burning hot. Fever. She had no medicine, no heat, no way to save him. Tears welled in her eyes, freezing before they could fall. She brushed snow from Ilya's hair and whispered, You're going to see the sun again, my love. I promise. Her words trembled. A mother's promise is supposed to mean something. Tonight it felt like a lie she had to keep telling to survive. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed outside. A tree branch? No. A gunshot. The wolves yelped and scattered. Voices shouted again. Soldiers! Lena's stomach dropped. They'd been found. Andrei tried to stand but collapsed. Go, he whispered. Take him and go. No, she hissed. I'm not leaving you. He gripped her wrist, his fingers cold and strong. You will. You'll live. You'll get him across. The door rattled under pounding fists. Someone shouted in a foreign tongue. Lena's eyes darted to a hole in the back wall, a gap where the boards had rotted away, just enough for her and Ilya. She pulled the boy into her arms, pressed one last kiss to Andrei's forehead, and whispered, I'll find you. He managed a weak smile. You already did. Then she crawled through the hole and vanished into the storm. Behind her, the door crashed open. Gunfire. The sound tore through the mountains. And then there was only wind again. Lena didn't stop running. The snow no longer felt cold. It felt alive, dragging her forward, whispering the names of those she couldn't lose. By dawn, the storm had calmed, but the silence that followed was worse. The mountains looked endless, ridges upon ridges, buried under white. The sky was a dull gray bruise. Lena's legs trembled with each step. Her breath rattled. She hadn't slept in almost 2 days. Ilya was limp in her arms, his lips blue. She whispered to him between sobs she could barely control. Just a little more, sweetheart. Just a little more, and we'll find help. And then, through the drifting fog, she saw smoke, a thin column curling from a chimney, faint but real. Lena nearly fell to her knees. She stumbled toward it, half dragging, half carrying the boy. At the edge of a clearing stood a small stone cottage, half buried in snow. Chickens huddled under the porch, silent and stiff from the cold. She knocked once, weakly, then again harder. After a moment, the door creaked open. An old woman peered out, wrapped in a heavy shawl. Her eyes widened at the sight of Lena and Ilya. 2 ghosts carved from ice. Please, Lena gasped. My son, he's freezing. The woman hesitated only a second before opening the door wide. Inside quickly, warmth hit them like a miracle. A small fire burned in the hearth. The air smelled of wood smoke and potatoes. Lena sank onto the floor, clutching Ilya close. Tears streamed down her face, thawing and freezing again as they fell. The woman pressed a mug into her hands. Warm broth. My name is Marta, she said softly. You're lucky the wolves didn't take you. Lena couldn't speak. She only nodded. Ilya sipped from the mug and whispered, It's warm. For the first time in days, Lena allowed herself to breathe. Marta wrapped them in blankets, murmuring prayers in Ukrainian. You can rest here tonight. Tomorrow I'll show you the trail to the border. It's close. Hope. That dangerous, beautiful thing flickered again in Lena's chest. She looked at the fire and saw Andrei's face in its light. But peace never lasts. That night, heavy boots thudded outside. A shout. The clang of metal against the gate. Marta's face went pale. Soldiers, she whispered. They're searching the valley. Lena's blood froze. Under here, Marta hissed, pulling up a loose floorboard. A dark hollow yawned beneath. Go. Quietly. Lena and Ilya slipped into the narrow space, pressed against the cold earth. Marta replaced the board, then stood above them as the door burst open. Voices barked questions in another language. The floor trembled with each step of a soldier's boot. Lena clutched Ilya, feeling his small body shake. He coughed once, soft, terrified. The soldier paused. The silence stretched. Then a voice muttered something. A curse. And the boots retreated. The door slammed. The sound of engines faded. Lena didn't move for a long time, afraid even to breathe. When Marta finally lifted the board, her eyes were wet. "They'll be back," she whispered. "You must leave before sunrise." Lena nodded, tears streaking her face. She looked toward the window. The faint light of dawn returning. Hope had saved them once more, but the mountains were not done testing the price of freedom. They left before dawn. The world was still blue and silent, the air brittle enough to crack. Marta stood in the doorway, her shawl pulled tight around her shoulders. "Follow the frozen river," she whispered. "It leads to the border. 2 hours if you keep north." Lena hugged the old woman fiercely. "Thank you." Marta only nodded. "Run if you hear engines, and pray." Then she was gone, a shadow swallowed by snow. The forest closed around them again. Endless trees, heavy with frost. Branches bowing like mourners. The frozen river glimmered beside them, pale and glassy under the first weak light of morning. Ilya's small hand was in hers. He looked better now, though his cheeks were still ghost pale. "Will Papa be there?" he asked softly. Lena's throat tightened. "Yes," she said. "He's waiting for us." They walked in silence, their steps crunching in the snow, their breath rising in fragile clouds that vanished too fast. Then, a sound. Engines. Lena froze. Down the valley, black dots moved between the trees. Trucks. Soldiers. They found the cottage, she whispered. She gripped Ilya's hand and ran. The snow was deeper here, each step heavier, slower. Behind them came the sharp bursts of shouting. And then, gunfire. Bark exploded from a nearby tree. Lena pulled Ilya toward the river. "Onto the ice," she cried. "It'll be faster." They stumbled onto the frozen surface. The ice moaned beneath them, a deep, living sound that crawled through her bones. A bullet skipped off the ice near her boot, spraying shards of white. "Don't stop!" she screamed. The ice cracked, once, then again. A jagged line snaked forward like lightning. Ilya stumbled. She caught him, dragging him forward. Her lungs burned. The air itself felt like knives. Then she saw them. 3 dark shapes on the far bank. Wolves, watching, waiting. For one breathless moment, everything stopped. Soldiers behind, wolves ahead, the whole world holding its breath. Ilya whimpered. "Mama!" Lena lifted him into her arms, voice trembling. "Close your eyes." Gunfire roared again. The wolves bolted into the trees, and the ice screamed, splitting wide beneath them. Lena ran. The river rose behind her, black water tearing through the cracks. She leapt the final gap, landing hard on the far bank. Snow exploded around her. She didn't feel the pain, only the silence that followed. The gunfire had stopped. The shouts faded, swallowed by the storm rising again over the ridge. Across the broken ice, soldiers stood frozen, staring. They couldn't cross. Not now. One by one, they lowered their rifles. Then, slowly, they vanished into the white. Lena fell to her knees, shaking. She pressed Ilya to her chest, sobbing with relief and grief, all tangled together. He whispered against her ear. "Mama, we made it." "Yes," she breathed. "We made it." But her eyes drifted across the river, back toward the mountains where Andrei had fallen. The wind howled from that direction, carrying with it a faint echo that might have been his voice. She reached out a trembling hand toward the horizon. "I kept my promise," she whispered. "He's safe." The storm began again, fierce and endless. Yet somewhere within its roar, Lena felt warmth. Not on her skin, but deep inside, where love still burned like a hidden ember refusing to die. She stood lifting Ilya onto her back. Ahead, a faint light flickered. Distant, uncertain, but real. The border. Lena started walking. Each step was agony, but every step was freedom. Behind them, the ice sealed shut again, erasing the path, as if the mountains themselves wanted to protect what little hope had survived. The river took their past. The snow carried their story. Only love, fragile, stubborn, eternal, led them forward. By sunrise, the mountains were quiet again. Lena trudged through the snow until she saw it. A line of wire, a flag rippling in the pale light. On the other side stood soldiers in blue armbands, their breath clouding the air. "Help!" she called, her voice barely more than a whisper. They ran to her, wrapping blankets around her shoulders, lifting Ilya from her arms. He was still breathing, barely. A medic pressed a cup of broth into her trembling hands. "It's over," someone said. "You're safe, safe." The word felt foreign. She turned toward the mountains, where the wind still howled like a memory. For a heartbeat, she imagined Andrei there, standing proud, smiling through the snow. "I kept him safe," she whispered. "Just like you asked." Ilya stirred in her arms, eyes fluttering open. "Mama, is this freedom?" Lena kissed his forehead. "Yes, my love. This is freedom." He frowned softly. "Then why do you look sad?" She smiled, a quiet, trembling smile. "Because freedom always costs something." The wind eased. The sun broke through. Lena lifted her son and stepped toward the waiting tents, leaving the frozen world behind. The road had ended, but life was waiting to begin again.